Alright, so episode 1 ended with seeing Headless and Mars invading the city. After that we get to Will, who obviously sees this, but he questions what those magic circles are. He thinks that the gate circles sure look like the ones that they saw on the 11th floor, and he starts to wonder if it can really be the same. After that, we see the monster causing straight havoc throughout the city, and the citizens just try their best to run away. We see someone asking if these are Dinobors, someone else asks what deep dungeon monsters are doing above ground. After that, we move to Claire, who is still in the air. Anyway, she calls out to Raj that she will throw up some defenses, telling him to hurry up with that incantation. Raj thanks her, and he then tells his men to prepare to engage. We then see Claire, I'm guessing, using her ability, as she then manages to call forth a bunch of cool-looking monsters who are called Corridos Guardians, but I'm guessing that they are friendly. Then we head back to Raj, who tells them to begin the incantation. He tells them to let Claire's guardians handle things on the front lines. We then see him taking a deep breath as he has his wand out and ready. After that, he screams at them to kill them all of them. Then he fires off insane fire attacks right at them. We see Wignall and Scion, who is currently trying to save a bunch of hurt people. Wignall wonders how Claire was able to create so many guardians, and Scion thinks that they stamped out the surprise attack in about a second, and all of them realize, together with Lihanna, that this is what it takes to be a high mage from the tower. We then head back to Raj, who says that they would defy the very city the Magiavander calls home, calling them fools. He continues as he tells them to trace the magic circles back to their source. That's where they will find whoever released all these monsters, telling them that he wants them seized at all costs. However, as the smoke clears, he can see that one monster seems to have survived their barrage, and Raj is having trouble believing it at first. He then decides to fire away an attack as he tells the monster to just go down quietly. However, he quickly realizes that none of his attacks seem to be working as the monster just keeps on closing the distance to him. Claire then screams at him to run, but sadly it's already too late, as we can see the monster cutting Raj through his body and killing him as well. He doesn't have a lower body part anymore. The monster then stamps their foot down and screams with all that they can. Meanwhile, Claire, still in the air, thinks that magic doesn't seem to be working against them. We then have a no-name who screams that they need to call for reinforcements, saying that they are still coming and that they are unable to stop them. While the nobodies are fighting for dear life, we head back to Claire once again, who wonders if they are immune to magic, but she then thinks that it's not it, as they are instead neutralizing their spells. Not only that, but she then realizes that they even wiped out her guardians, but while she is in her head, we can see that the monsters are heading for her. Now, this is a bit hard to see, but it looks like she is able to dodge the monster's attack as she sees the monster's sword, which she gets pretty intrigued about. Now I do think that she survived, as it sounds like she reported back to Cauldron that the monster was using a mage slayer. After that, a mage comes to Cauldron and tells her that they can't hold them back, explaining that the tower guards that went to the city have already suffered heavy losses. Some civilians have been hit as well, wondering what those things even are. We then head right into Cauldron's thoughts, as she thinks that Finn brought her that mage slayer. He and his team recovered it, but she wonders if it was mass-produced for this battle. She thinks that if they are using gates, they can assume these are the wanted criminals who appeared at the all-student praxis, but they can't possibly be working on their own, thinking that this is far too well organized. They attacked the moment the Terminalia ritual was over, and why would they time it like this? But it then looks like something clicks for her, but just then, someone screams to her, telling her that they need reinforcements from the school, but she screams and tells them no. But it doesn't take long before the monster have gone to breached into the school grounds. This makes her think that she knew it, and that the attack on the city was a diversion. She then tells the mages to defend the tower. After that, we get to a big round table with the Magiavander, and someone says that they are the ones the enemy is after. Sarissa tells them that all of them exhausted most of their magic casting the Great Barrier. Eleanor tells her that the Terminalia is the one and only day of the year when the Magiavander are all in a weakened state. She didn't know what idiots are behind this, but that must have been their goal. After that, we see Logwell. He tells Lord Cariot that the Magiavander must join the battle, explaining that if not, innocent lives will be lost, and that the Magiavander should turn their strength at once to the battle. However, he quickly gets cut off by Aaron, who tells him to be silent. He asks Logwell if he would like his windpipe torn out like his eyes were, telling him to remember his place and saying that he has already disgraced himself enough. We then get to Zio, who asks what they are supposed to do then, asking if they should just sit up here on their pedestal and watch. Aaron then tells him that he is exactly right, saying that he forbids any Magiavander from leaving this place, telling them with a serious tone that if even one of them is lost and the great barrier is breached, the celestial host will come pouring through. Not only Regarden, but the entire world will be reduced to cinders. That is the one thing that they must avoid at all cost. We then see Mars, who explains that it looks like those Magiavanda are too scared to come out, saying that they are dangling the bait right in front of their faces. If they'd just shown some guts, they'd have finished them off already. Headless then tells him that they should just sit back and enjoy the view for now. Leaving them, we go to Iris, who thinks that this can't be. She looks super shocked as she thinks that the people, the city's greatest treasure, are the talent they need to fight the heavens, and that they can't let this happen. Suddenly, she hears someone calling for their mother behind her, and she looks back. She sees a monster heading right for them. The child starts to look sad, and Iris knows that she has to do something, so she fires off a blast right towards the monster. But it's pretty understandable it has zero effect. The monster keeps on going for the mom and the child, and Iris screams out, telling it to stop. But luckily, just at the last minute, we see its arm getting cut off, and we also see that this is catching Mars's attention. But after that, we see the goat Will, who is standing super ready and fired up. We then see the text, and I feel like it's Will's thought, but he wonders why this world is unkind, why it is so cruel to swords like him. He has asked himself that so many times. He would be lying if he said that he never felt bitter about it. But this was never what he wanted. With that, we see him screaming out as he then finishes the monster off. He lands on the ground, but we can clearly see how much his hands are shaking. He tells himself to get a hold of himself, and that every second that he stands here shaking, someone could be dying. After that, we see him locking in and going to take down more of these monsters. However, we then see Rosti, who comes and tells Will to take the ones with weapons. While he says that, however, a monster heads right to him. Luckily, he is well aware of it, and he then uses his crystal wreath magic to turn the monster into dust. Rosti then continues his thoughts as he tells Will that means the mages can still fight the ones that are unarmed. Will then tells him that he has got it, and he then goes right for the next one, which he manages to create an awesome clash with. However, as the monster and Will are going head to head, we then see that the monster manages to overpower Will, and Will is forced to jump back. We then get to Iris, who is watching this from a bit away. She thinks that Will is a warrior. If anyone can defeat the Mage Slayer, then it's him, but she very well knows that he can't do it alone and that there are far too many. But just then, someone calls her. We see that it's Aaron. Aaron tells her that he will grant her his authority, telling her to mobilize the dwarves and to end this carnage. Iris then gets up and thanks him. With that, she then uses some sort of ability and says that by the authority of the great mysterious Noah, the Watchers hereby invoke this special order. She explains that she lifts all bans on dwarven combat, and mages and dwarves work together and eliminate the monsters. She repeats that she invokes the special order Gordvir. After that, we get to Werkner, who runs with all that he can into the tavern. He calls out to the dwarves and tells them to please help them and that they need them. We then see Donan, who says that the year's only just started and they have already got more work for them. Gina, however, tells him to quit bawling and move out, saying that they will go and help Will, and with that they begin to move out, and they look super cold. We then head to Edward, who uses his Dax Darbican magic on some monster. After that, we can see him instructing some mages, telling them to let the dwarves handle the armed monster, while the mages focus on the ones without weapons. He then tells the student that they are putting them to work as well, as they need more fighters, explaining that even if all they can do is slow them down, just do it, instructing them to be the wands that protect their people. However, they are all a bunch of cowards as they wonder how they can get to work, and how they even killed high mages. But while they are just chickening around, we see someone using their ability, Owen, Seek, or Lisolde Dua. It's none other than Lehana, who comes and gets down a bunch of monsters at once, showing off her insane power. Or I got ahead of myself, as we then see that she didn't exactly take them down fully, as she looks annoyed and explains that even with an enchantment, it will take more than just one hit, as these are deep dungeon monsters after all. We then see the monsters going to attack her, but she jumps over them. However, she does think that what's worse is that any magic that gets within a certain range of those weapons just vanishes as she lands on the ground, and questions if they neutralize it, or if they are absorbing the energy, saying that either way, it's brutally effective against mages, thinking to herself that she wishes that there was just a way to overcome that. Just then, however, we can see Colette, who comes running to her and tells her not to do anything reckless as she goes to her. Lehana asks her if she can do something for her. Colette is just surprised, but we then hear her being super shocked but not knowing what Lehana told her just yet. We then get to Wignall, who uses his Alf's Ringhole spells, However, he explains that they are not effective and that they can even nullify his illusion magic, thinking that there's no way they are going to last until the dwarves get here, saying that Lihana is keeping them busy on the front lines, but they are done for if she wears herself out. He is about to say that if they don't run, then they are done for. But just then, Sion, who is to his right, speaks up and tells him no. He says that whenever they stamp out a spell, they slow down for a second. This means that if they just keep firing off spells, even if they don't work, then it will ultimately pin the enemy down, and that's exactly what we can see them do, as they just keep on firing more and more spells at them. After that, they say that it's working and that it's perfect, as now that the other monsters are forced to use the armed ones as shields, it's Colette's turn as they scream out to her to go. Colette, however, firstly looks super afraid before she decides to go for it and uses her magic, and she digs up the massive statue from the ground before she then puts it right on top of the monsters, crushing them fully. However, Julius, funnily enough, just says that she knocked down a statue of a former Magia Vander and that it's just asking for bad luck. But while he is off thinking about that, we see Wignall, who thinks that this is it. A physical object that isn't imbued with magic can't be neutralized. After that, we see Lihana, who screams out to all the earth mages to fire a barrage, telling them to use rocks, dirt, or just anything, explaining that they need to master the unknown, and showing them how they do things here at Regarden, and that makes them all super fired up. We then see Claire from the sky, who explains that it's not bad, thinking that this year's new graduates are something else, top-notch all around. After that, she furthered the information that Lihana said as she screams out to everyone, or mostly to the earth mages, as she tells them to lead the counterattack and that the dwarves will be here soon. A no-name mage thinks that it makes him sick having to rely on the dwarves, but beggars can't be choosers, and that this is the Magia Vander's home, and that they are not about to let it fall. We then see Headless saying that Regarden's making a comeback. Mars adds that this is all because those idiots making the slime went and got themselves found by the expedition, continuing as he says that Mysterious Noah and the Runt managed to get their hands on one of them, and calling it a stupid mistake. We then get to Headless again, who says that they're bringing dwarves into it. Some of these mages think pretty fast, explaining that word's already gotten out about their trump card. Mars tells him to just imagine how this would have gone if the Upper Institute people had managed to study a slime and come up with a counter-strategy beforehand. They already had to roll out their plan before they could produce enough of them, as it is. If they hadn't been forced to show their hand, this would have been the perfect surprise attack. We then move to Headless, who says that, then again, that's not the only reason, and we see Will as he says that, which makes me worried. Anyway, Headless continues as he says that it's a little early, but whatever, and that they have one more surprise. With that, we go over to Will, who just took down one of the beasts. However, his eyes suddenly widen as he can feel a huge gate opening behind him. He looks at it and wonders if there's more and if something else is coming, and we then see a, to be fair, super cool but also huge monster appearing. It seems to have an eye in its head, and the eye looks around intensely before it finds Will before him. After that, in an instant, it basically teleports to Will and punches him. However, this is far from any normal attack, as Will is sent through 3 buildings before finally landing against a wall, but looking completely out of it. We then switch scenes as we see some weird guy getting a knife in his chest. We then see Finn walking right up to him. Finn tells him that it's time to stop playing tag. He tells the guy that he is the one who made the Mage Slayers, and because of that, he is going to tell Finn everything that he knows. The guy just starts to laugh maniacally as he tells him that he is too late, telling him that their job was to lure him deep into the dungeon. Up on the surface, they are already wreaking havoc, and we can see that it sure makes Finn a bit nervous. We then get back to the city, where we see Will, who actually manages to get back up. However, he is bleeding heavily and has a bunch of scars on him. On top of that, it's not like he can calm down, as just as he gets up on his feet, the beast is right on him, and he goes to attack and grabs his leg before dragging him through the entire building, before once again throwing him through a bunch of buildings. Will obviously takes a ton of damage because of it, but before he goes through yet another house, he manages to take out his sword and use it to get down to the ground. While he is now sitting down, he looks at the monster and wonders how it is so powerful, and that it doesn't even make sense. We'll then look closely at it and wonder if it could even be stronger than a Grand Duke. We head up to the skies again, where we see Claire alive and well. She looks at this and wonders if it's a Devander, the 40th floor notorious monster. She explains that he is infamous for slaughtering multiple Magia Vander. After that, we head back to Mars, who explains that 50 of their men got wiped out, just trying to shove that abomination through the gate. We then see Headless on his side, who says that they had a hell of a time trying to capture it alive. Mars then just starts to smile as he says that now it sure can run wild all at once. With that, we head back to Will, who's getting pushed back. He thinks that even if he dodges the main attack, he still gets blown away like a piece of scrap paper, thinking that this isn't an enemy that he can face head on. He looks super hurt as he thinks that all he can do now is run. But as he says that, he quickly sees Devander going to two other mages. They look at it super scared as they wonder what he even is. However, the Devander obviously doesn't answer them as it instead goes to try and completely crush them, but luckily, we see that before it could take them down. Will had made it just in time and was able to block the attack, but he sure was struggling. We see the other mages seeing him and questioning why he is here, and calling him a flunky, which is so wild as he just saved their lives. Anyway, Will, being the kind-hearted soul that he is, screams at them to run. With that, the two mages run for their lives while screaming. Meanwhile, Will isn't that lucky, as the Devander takes his other free hand and manages to give Will a super punch right to the body, making him pretty much fly away. But trust me, it only gets worse, as while Will is in the air, the Devander teleports to him and then pushes him right into the ground. Will hits it harder than ever and he throws up blood. Will is then in a super hurt state, almost being unable to move, as he can just look at the Devander, which is standing in front of him. But just then, we see the goat Donan, who screams Will's name and comes to his rescue. As before, Devander has put the nail in the coffin for Will. Donan came and pushed him away. Donan looks super cool as he asks Will if he is alright. Will is just super confused to see him here, but Donan tells Will to just stay right there and that they are going to chop this thing to pieces, and we then see a bunch of dwarfs around it. We then get to Iris, who screams out to everyone. She tells the fellow book learner to concentrate their forces in the southern district. Defeating the Devander is their top priority, and launch an all-out attack as soon as the dwarves destroy its mage slayer. However, we then cut to Mars, who says that they got it surrounded. Meanwhile, Headless says that it's just like they planned, and calls it perfect. With that, it looks like the Devander is starting to transform, and Headless continues as they tell the Devander to eat up. Donan asks what is going on, and Will, who looks at this, thinks that it pushed its core out. After that, we cut to Edward, who has just defeated a monster. However, he thinks that it's a trap, and that they played right into their hands. He then screams out and tells them to gather all the traces now. However, Headless tells him that it's already way too late, and after that, we see that the Devander is absorbing the life force out of all the previously defeated beasts. We learn that the Devander has a unique skill. It can absorb traces from other monsters. Basically, it eats its friends to get crazy strong. We see Claire freaking out over this as she screams at them not to let it get any more traces. Meanwhile, Donan tells them to come on and charge at it. However, as all of the dwarves are going to it, suddenly, some weird, strange black lightning comes in their way. Donan falls then to the ground, and we see Mars just laughing as he tells them that they don't, and that they should just sit there and watch how a real monster is born. We then get to the Devander, who screams out, and we see its core growing and growing before finally it has reached what looks to be its full form. And this looks absolutely insane as he looks so much more furious.